What is up, guys and gals? It has been a minute since we've done a video, but before we get into it, you know the drill. Cue the intro. We are here in the kitchen, and we've got some fresh veg from the farmer's market. No, not from our garden. We'll get into that in another video. But we got some tomatoes here, and we got some cucumber. We're actually going to be doing some of our own ferments here, and we'll be documenting them as they go. So this is basically going to be a cucumber salsa, which we've done this before. It's essentially about equal parts cucumber and tomato, and then we're going to throw in some jalapenos, some parsley, some onions, some garlic, all that good stuff, cilantro, and we got over here too, we just got some sauerkraut going as well. And in fact, here's a cool thing here. You can find these tops on Amazon. So these are little breather tops, so outside air won't come in, so you won't ruin your ferment with wild yeasts or anything like that. But what you could do with these, you can set the date. So today's July 13th, so set it to 13, and then you know, all right, hey, as long as you don't forget what month you did this, you'll know exactly when you did it, and you won't lose track. But anyways, we're going to keep on chopping up here, and we'll be back in a moment when we have some more things ready to go. I was just corrected. I said parsley when I meant cilantro. Parsley would be kind of weird in a salsa. Alright, so this is what we're left with, and this is going to make an awful lot of salsa. As you could see while we were cutting that all up, got all the stuff in here. We've got the cilantro, not parsley, onion, garlic, cucumber, tomato, all that delicious goodness. And then leftovers get to go to the chickens. Nice little salad snack. Now we did have some extra cucumbers, so these are just going to be pickles. And we're going to do the same thing. It's going to be a saltwater brine. Now a lot of people might have done refrigerator style pickles or some other variety that utilizes vinegar as opposed to salt. Really, you're just sort of replicating the taste of a true fermented whatever vegetable it is, as opposed to a saltwater brine. You're allowing that lactobacillus to do its job and actually give you this delicious beneficial microbial sort of fermentation to occur. So we're about ready to get packing these jars. Now we like using these quart-sized mason jars, although as you saw for the sauerkraut we have an even bigger one, which we want to get some more of those. But these are great. Now a lot of people have mason jars. We've been slowly transitioning to solely these wide mouth ones. They're way easier to clean. You can actually get your hand in there to clean them, but we have these sort of fermenting lids. We've got a few of these. Many of you have seen this sort of thing, but basically some water goes in here, so it allows during the fermentation process for the gases to basically off gas and leave, but then no outside air can come in to essentially wreck your ferment. And then we have these lids, which I already kind of told you about. This works in the same sort of way. It has a seal at the bottom, and it works in the same mechanism, except there's no actual water mechanism like here, but it does allow for air to escape but no air to come in. And then of course this has the added feature that you can set your date. So we're about to start filling these up. Now, a good general rule of thumb is this little rounded part here. You can call that the shoulder. So you kind of want to fill up your mixture to about the shoulder, and then when we get to the saltwater brine, that will be filled up to basically the bottom of these threads here, and then you're going to leave the rest of this for airspace. But we're going to get filling these up, and then we'll get to the saltwater brine part. While the Homestead honey finishes up filling up these jars here, we're gonna move on over this way and talk about the saltwater brine. Now, I just got a gallon of water filled up here. The water is quite essential. Absolutely never infinity use tap water, because all the crap in there, the chlorine, all that is gonna stop anything from fermenting. And sometimes even your Brita filters, your fridge filters, that sort of thing might not even filter out enough. We actually use a high quality gravity fed stainless steel water filter, like a big Berkey type thing. Those are fantastic, and they filter out basically everything that you don't want in your water. It's like 99.9 something effective. But anyways, next is the salt. You do not want to use table salt. Table salt is highly processed and has iodine in it. That's also going to stop any fermentation from happening. So ideally, you want to use a high quality salt. We love the Redmond's real salt. Really good. Great on steak, great with your food. It's got a good taste. It's got a bunch of minerals in it naturally. It's not like some fortified crap where they add in something. This is the real deal. You can also use a sea salt, a kosher salt, something like that. Basically just your preference. We just love this salt, so this is what we're using. Now, for a gallon, a good rule of thumb is about a half a cup of salt to a gallon. You can change that, vary it a little bit based on your taste, the effectiveness on exactly what you're fermenting. Some things you might need a tiny bit more salt, tiny bit less salt. If you really want to get nitpicky, you can go by weight and percentages. We're not going to bother with that. We're going to go by a pretty good rule of thumb here. If you were doing less, I believe it's about 2 tablespoons of salt to a quart, but we got a lot more than a quart here, so this is going to be a quarter cup, half a cup. So we're about ready to get our brine poured in here, but I want to make note of one thing here real quick. I did mention to you guys that the Redmond real salt here, that it has a high mineral content. It comes from these mines out in Utah apparently, and you can see it in the color here. This is not just some clear cloudy salt mixture. There is some minerals. And now, one other thing to note. So if you look on the top of all these, we actually put 1 bay leaf in each and every one of these. Not for the flavor, but actually for the tannins. So when you do any of your ferments, they're obviously sitting in liquid for a long time. They're fermenting. The microbes are doing their work. And that can result in your vegetables getting not so crispy, and in fact sometimes kind of mushy. So if you get something with tannins in there, it'll help preserve that crispness of your vegetables. Traditionally, a lot of people will use grape leaves for that, but we don't have any grape leaves, so you can find some other alternatives. Even oak leaves will work, and there's some other alternatives out there. And so you can see here too, we've got the cucumbers sliced up in here, ready to become pickles. And the Homestead honey is going to tell you what she put in there for seasonings as well.
So I can't give you exact because I just eyeball with how much cucumbers are actually in the jar. But I love turmeric in it, so I added turmeric, a lot of dill, celery seed, and allspice.
So there you have it. So now we're going to start pouring the liquid in here. And you'll see we're going to be filling these right up to the base of the collar. We'll kind of show you as she's pouring here. But you want to make sure that you're leaving about an inch or so of airspace, because the ferments need to breathe and they need to be able to off gas. So that's basically right to the base of the collar. So you can kind of see where that's shaking.
You do want to make sure when you're pouring in the brine that you actually agitate it a little bit, because the packed vegetables are going to keep the brine above. So if you're just going to use like a chopstick, don't use metal because you'll end up scraping the glass and you'll pretty much degrade the glass a little bit. So if you just kind of maneuver it around a little bit, you're going to work the brine down to the bottom. And you might end up needing more depending on how much juice your vegetables actually put out.
With something like salsa, you're going to have a lot of juices anyways, especially with something like tomatoes. They're very juicy. We actually realized before we started filming this particular part that we need to strain off some of the natural juices. So we just flipped them upside down with a little strainer and got some of that excess liquid out of there, because that is going to actually dilute your brine. So some juices are going to be in there, but if you can displace some of it, that's going to be your best bet. So we are just about wrapped up here. Now we've got the tops on all of these, but I wanted to use this one to give you guys one last example of something that is pretty crucial. Inside here, if you can tell, there's a little glass weight here right on top. It is see-through. It might be hard to tell on the camera here, but that is to ensure that all of the ingredients, all the vegetables in here stay below the water line. If any vegetables or anything is floating on top there, you run the risk of mold developing. So if when you do this, if you see any little bits floating, you want to scoop those out before you put your top here on. And then so that can go on now. And we're going to be doing a little comparison as well. So we've got the 2 jars of pickles with either type of lid on. And then we've got the 4 different jars of salsa, 2 of each lid on them. So now with these, the way that these work, these are filled about halfway with water, and that's basically like a bell siphon mechanism. So this floats just high enough and any air goes up here and kind of burps out through the bell and then up and out. But no air from outside can actually manage to make its way in. These you don't need to worry about having any filtered water or anything, because none of this water is going to get inside here. So we're going to see how these work. We've never really compared the effectiveness of one top versus the other, or if it really makes much of a difference. My guess is it won't make much of a difference because they work the same way, just one uses a rubber seal, one uses water and air as the seal. So these are going to sit for about approximately 2 to 4 weeks. It's usually a good rule of thumb for most ferments, and it really goes by your taste, your preference. Now, a lot of people will be a little hesitant to do ferments. They're a little scared of, hey, what if it's moldy? What if I eat something bad, something of that sort? Honestly, that's really the least of your concerns. So let me tell you, one of 3 things will happen. Either A, nothing at all happens. You let this thing sit here for a couple weeks, 2, 3, 4 weeks, and you pop the top off and nothing's happening. There's no bubbling happening. It doesn't taste like it's fermented, and that probably means you didn't use enough salt. Now, if you have a bad batch, trust me, you're going to know it. You might see mold development. If you open this thing up, you're going to smell it before you ever even taste it. It's going to smell bad, rancid, and you know somewhere you messed up. And try again. Trial and error. A lot of it, that's what it's about. So, and then of course the third result, you get something delicious. So we're going to see how these go. We're going to show you the progress as we go along here. Probably about once a week or so. We're going to pop the top, see what's going on. We'll show you any of the bubbling development on all of them. And we will see you on the next one. So long.